The year is 2007, and I just entered summer vacation after my final day at elementary. Of course, summer break means all the time in the world from a kid's point of view. All the time to go anywhere, all the time to do anything, but me? I just wanted to see my grandma. She'd welcome me with a warm smile and feed me home-cooked meals. I'd play with the pet dog and she'd tell me stories of the family and her childhood, and sometimes we'd go out and do some sort of activity such as going to the mall. However, she had one major thing that neither of my parents did. This bad boy is an e-machine, boasting incredibly powerful specs including an 80GB hard drive, 512 megabytes of RAM, and Intel Extreme Graphics 3D, truly a beast. Take this and combine it with an internet connection, and while I was under the age of 10, I was given unsupervised internet access. Day in and day out, I was playing every game under the sun that I could get my small hands on. Some were popular browser games, a lot were flash games, and quite a few were MMO games. I'm surprised the computer could keep up, it really didn't. Unfortunately, some were still out of my reach. The biggest was World of Warcraft, that game requiring a monthly subscription that my family refused to pay for. I tried others like Toontown Online and Wizard 101, but my progress was always halted by the fact that in order to really progress the game and unlock further areas, you still needed to pay. It was during this era that I came across something completely new that caught my eye. It was this strange looking, chibi graphics, fighting game MMO. Now, this type of game is a far cry from what I normally was ever interested in. I hated fighting games as I just thought they took no skill, and you just spam the same things over and over. But for whatever reason, this one intrigued me. And to this day, I'm not sure what convinced me to try installing it, but little did I know that this game would have me in a chokehold for the next decade. Rumble Fighter is a free online fighting game MMO. I figured, hey, this is a game so obscure that not even Josh Strive Hayes will make a video on it, so I'll do it myself. This game was made in those experimental days of the mid-2000s when various studios made MMO games by throwing everything at a wall and seeing what stuck. Not much is really known about the development of this game, but it was made by Studio Mnemonics around 2005 and was later published by a company called Tekken in Korea. The Korean or original version of the game is actually called Gem Fighter. It was later released internationally under the new name Rumble Fighter in 2007, this version of the game being published by the late OG Planet. Since then, Rumble Fighter has been transferred over to 2 more companies, finally landing on Red Fox, and the game remains published by today. If I hadn't made it clear already, Rumble Fighter is vastly different from your conventional MMO. For starters, it's a PvP-focused fighting game. There's no open world to go explore, no hotbars, no mounts, no NPCs to give you quests. This game structure is hub/lobby based. If you want to play the game, one must create a lobby and get people to join. Rumble Fighter boasts a variety of game modes, including but not limited to Battle Mode, the most straightforward, to Potion Battle, to Caged Beast Mode, to one of my other personal favorites, Moving Screen. There's even a plaza if you just want to hang out and play minigames and fish. If you happen to be a PvE enjoyer, fret not, as there's Adventure Mode as well, where you can play various stages against AI enemies and bosses. Now when you first start the game, you're a completely blank slate, but there's truly an impressive amount of character customization. You can wear specific pieces on your head, torso, arms, legs, and feet, as well as accessories all over your character's body. I've seen some true abominations in this game, I can tell you that much. Now, let's back up a bit and talk about the basics of this game's fighting system. I'll try to be as clear and concise as possible. Movement is done with the arrow keys and is omnidirectional. This makes movement and spacing of the highest importance in game. With a double tap of the arrow keys, you're able to dash, again in all 8 directions. You can jump with the spacebar and double jump with the double press. Same as movement, you can jump in all 8 directions. For basic buttons, Z is to block, X is your punch combo, and C is your kick combo. You string these buttons together in order to perform your standard combo attacks. Pressing Z plus X together gives you a throw, but you can only land it if the target is facing you. Pressing Z plus C gives you a counter that when landed, gives you slight damage and advantage. Pressing X plus C gives you a panic attack, which is a get out of jail free card, interrupting your opponent's attack. You unlock Non-Mu at level 15, which is a sort of super combo. You perform this by pressing V and then spamming the X key. While sprinting, pressing X will give you a ramp, which is a very high commitment, high knockback move, useful for knocking somebody off the edge of the map. Also while sprinting, pressing C will give you a slide, which deals less damage than a ram and doesn't knock back, but it's far safer to use. Very helpful for closing out rounds. You can also punch and kick while jumping, but you'll pretty much only be using jump kicks for damage and as a spacing tool. They're just better than punches. If you find yourself on the ground, you can stand up, roll in 1, 2, 3, and 4 directions, and press X or C to go into a tackle or wake up kick. You can use a mix of all these options together to throw off your opponent. Now you may be thinking to yourself, okay, this is all cool, but where exactly are the characters you can play as in this fighting game? You can customize your avatar, so what's up? This is where Rumble Fighter truly shines. Instead of conventional playable characters determining your fighting style, you equip items known as sacred scrolls onto yourself. Each scroll has its own distinct style and move list, some scrolls completely flipping some of the game mechanics on their heads. Mariken is a very unorthodox boxing scroll with a very fast punch combo but a very slow kick combo. I personally think it works best at longer ranges compared to other boxing scrolls due to its attacks having a lot of forward momentum. Pictured here are the move lists of some scrolls, and as you can see, the combos have a variety of inputs and scrolls have more moves than others. I will also point out that many scrolls in this game are based on existing fighting game characters, and I absolutely love how they're implemented. For example, the scrolls Zen, Karate, and Kunki are based off Jin Kazama from Tekken. Moving on, one of the most legendary 1 vs 1 scrolls is based off everyone's favorite maniacal cyborg. Unfortunately for all the Brian mains out there, there's no taunt, no jet upper, and no taunt jet upper. Most scrolls have launchers, letting you throw an enemy into the air for a free juggle combo. Some scrolls have omnidirectional grabs, letting you toss an opponent from any side you face them. They're mostly on grappling themed scrolls. Fewer scrolls even have launching counter attacks. Nowadays, most scrolls have some sort of gimmick to make them more diverse, such as Electro's unblockables and double launchers, Praying Mantis's backsway launcher, and whatever this is. It cannot be understated how cool this system is, as it feels like you're creating your own custom fighting game character. Another core piece to your character is your Exocore. Actually, I should say Exocores, as you can equip 2 at a time. These are special power-ups you get after a certain amount of time in a match, or you just taking enough damage. You both have a gauge next to your profile that fills up, plus a sparkle effect around your character that signifies that they're available to use. Exocores grant the user 2 new abilities they can use in a match, while some Exocores will also completely replace your equipped scroll with its own moveset. The abilities vary extremely wildly when it comes to what they do. These abilities can range from completely useless to unbelievably brain dead. They are especially overpowered, yet used most often during team battles.
Get him up, let him get up, let him get up, let him get up.
He needs some milk!
Fight back, nigga! Fight back! Fight back!
Now, the new skills do cost SP, so you will eventually run out, but some Exocore synergy can lead to crazy results. Now, Rumble Fighter does feature a class system, and when the game first came out, Exocore identity was tied to which class you chose. For example, the Soul Fighter class had access to Exocores that transformed you into werewolves and similar types of beasts, but nowadays, most Exocores can be used by all classes. Rumble Fighter may look like some sort of arcade brawler at first glance, but this is another of its strengths. There are tons of ways to play it. Firstly, there is a genuinely high skill ceiling in this game. If you want to play Rumble Fighter as a straightforward, fundamentals-driven 1v1 fighting game where you can personally disrespect your opponents, you can do that. All of the standard fighting game mechanics are there: punishment, mind games, movement, footsies, etc. And that doesn't even include Rumble Fighter's specific tech, like low jumps, advanced nano combos, air grabs, matrix jumps, panic breaks, and so much more. But if you want a more casual yet completely chaotic party game, you can do that as well. If you want the game to be more of a perfectly balanced team game, okay, maybe not here. Point is, there's options for nearly any kind of player available. There are so many ways to play this game. Now, when you first start out, you probably won't have any idea what you're doing. If you're like me and have been playing this game since 2007, all these years, you still won't know what you're doing. The skill ceiling is there. And there are people in this game who have only been playing this for like the past 20 years. By now, these game mechanics have been completely unraveled and exploited, and you can find some truly incredible gameplay online of people way more skilled than me who can really push the game to its limits. So with all the pieces together, I'm sure you can understand why I think Rumble Fighter is a fantastic game. For starters, there's nearly limitless character creation, and combined with all the different scrolls and exocores, it can really feel like you're meticulously creating your very own fighting game character. It's almost like if Mugen was turned into an official game. And with all these different ways to play, it's hard to get bored. Oh, have you been getting 10-0'd for the past hour and a half? Let's relax and go play some adventure mode, grab some loot, and fight some enemies for a bit. You don't want to fight at all? Well, there's NHAA, aka no hitting at all. An unofficial game mode typically set on moving screen stages where you just don't fight. It kind of functions as a chat room and a way to earn yourself a little bit of money without any effort. I played this a lot when I was a kid, as I was very bad at the game. Going a bit more in depth with the most popular modes of play, there's typically 3 kinds: Moonlight Valley, Glacier Cove, and 1v1 Blacktop Melee. The maps actually indicate how these are played, as all 3 are technically just the standard battle mode. Moon is the most popular mode of play, up to 8 players free-for-all on the stage Moonlight Valley. This map is very treacherous and it is very easy to get knocked off the map. I personally don't really play it, as I typically just get knocked off and am stuck waiting for the next round to begin. Cove is the next most popular. 8-man team battles on the stage Glacier Cove. There's a lot more space to walk around on, so you won't get knocked off quite as easily. I play a decent amount of Cove, but I'm typically not a fan of all the exo shenanigans. But if your team and the opposite team are around the same skill, it can be tons of fun with a lot of varied gameplay. Finally, 1v1 is exactly what it sounds like and takes place on the stage Blacktop Melee, aka Harlem. You and another player duke it out without any items, Exocores, etc. If players really want to compete to see who's better, this is the map to play. It's very wide open and there's no way to fall off the map unless you intentionally go all the way to the back of it. I have spent an obscene amount of time here. It's always funny because in the community, a lot of players specialize in these types of games, and there's a lot of soft or fake drama about 1v1ers versus mooners and things like that. Moving on, I also just really appreciate how driven the community is in this game. I showed you some recent gameplay of people making their own highlight reels, but people have been doing this since the beginning. With how old this game is, you can find all sorts of videos on YouTube of people creating combo videos, machinimas, scroll guides, it's all there. There's even guilds you can be a part of. There's this whole ranking system in separate modes specifically for guild wars, where these guilds fight team battles to rise up the ladder. I always wanted to get into this one guild called LOL Mind Games as a kid. The players were always so good. I myself nowadays am part of the guild Sacred Souls. As you can see, this little game from 2007 has quite a lot going for it. From the in-depth character customization to all the various modes of play, Rumble Fighter really has something for everyone, for all kinds of users. I don't really understand why this game doesn't have more players.
Why this game doesn't have more players. Why this game doesn't have more players.
I have been lying to you all this entire time. Look, it's time we talk about what playing Rumble Fighter is actually like. What playing Rumble Fighter is like in the year 2025. There are a variety of factors that have led to this game's downfall that we will absolutely get into. However, the root of the cause is actually how this game was designed in the first place, as it was awful for its longevity. To begin, toward the beginning of this video, I said that Rumble Fighter is a free MMO, and during editing I was debating on whether to cut to black with the word free in big air quotes, but I left it out as I wanted the first part of this video to be all sunshine and rainbows. This game is incredibly pay to win. From important gear like scrolls and exocores to even cosmetics, consumables, and even some of the classes in this game cost premium currency. While making a game free to play isn't inherently bad, the sheer amount of power you can buy, for lack of a better word, is astounding. Let's say you're getting beat by another player and decide that you want the scroll that he has equipped, shootboxing. You can go and drop about $10 and now you instantly have one of the best scrolls in the game. I won't get too far into it, but shootboxing is a very old, yet still relevant scroll that, combined with insane pressure, range, speed, and ease of use, allows it to still keep up with a lot of the power creep that this game has suffered. More on power creep later. Do you also want that player's Exocore? That's going to be another $10, getting you another very powerful item. And don't forget that you can equip 2 Exocores at once, so that brings the total to about $30. Just that. $30 to have a single set of skill items. If you want more scrolls and more Exocores, that's going to cost even more. Back to the shop, let's say you want a new set to flaunt your taste and fashion. Going into the store, it feels like half the items available are bought with RC, and while these prices look cheap at first glance, which they are, once you have all the pieces that you want, the total price of everything can be even more expensive than a scroll or exo. Taking a further step back, this is a point I don't see many players bring up, but I feel I have to mention that the RC prices of items do not correlate to the power or metaphorical tier list very well at all. This goes for both RC and in-game currency Karat items. Take a look at these 2 scrolls. One of them is the aforementioned shootboxing, the other is judo, and they're about the same price. This means if you're playing this game without looking up items beforehand, you can buy something that is completely trash and not worth the money at all. Real quick, there's the scroll Kingpin that I want to like so badly. You've already seen me use it in this video. This scroll cost 56,000 Karat, making it the second most expensive Karat scroll in the game, and guess what? It's bad. The only real thing going for this scroll are the sick animations and the fact that, compared to other scrolls, it deals a ton of damage with its combos. However, Kingpin's range and frames are so poor that not only is it difficult to apply any sort of offensive pressure, half the time you even get a launch, your attacks will just miss. I still use it for fun, but if I'm seriously trying to win, I pretty much never use Kingpin, as other scrolls with better frames and range are far more important in this game. Scrolls like Hitman, Capoeira, and Drunken Master prioritize things such as horizontal range and pressure, and don't have to rely on juggle damage at all. To finalize my point about RC in the shop, let's get into the really bad stuff. Yeah, it gets worse. When you enter the shop, the very first thing that appears on the front page are boxes. Yeah, they managed to put loot boxes into a fighting game. Yeah, so for the low price of, Jesus Christ, you can get 5 whole loot boxes. And if you want the really good stuff in the game, they are only obtainable from these boxes. As you can see, a pack of 5 costs you 1900 RC. When you want to buy RC, the packages they sell are 1545 RC for $14.99 and 2625 RC for $24.99. You can't buy an exact amount to buy a pack of loot boxes. You're either going to buy not enough or too much, which obviously incentivizes you to buy more. If you harken back to the prices of scrolls and exocores, you can see that this philosophy is there too. It is a dirty, filthy tactic. Well, what do you actually get from these loot boxes? Mostly trash. Here's footage of me opening a lot of boxes. Now, no, I did not spend hundreds of dollars on these. Actually, if you're inactive, every 6 months, you get 3 packs of 5 different loot boxes. I didn't know this, so while I wasn't playing the game, both of my accounts accrued an absurd amount of them. Some of the best scrolls, exocores, cosmetics, etc. can only be obtained from these boxes, but a lot of the time, you'll just get consumables, karat tickets, temporary gear, and temporary scrolls. Those with a keen eye may have noticed some of my scrolls, exos, and gears saying 30 days, 14 days, 1 day, etc. So you can straight up obtain a scroll you want and be hyped, but when you go to actually look at it, you find out that it's not permanent. I still remember when Rumble Fighter first started really going into these boxes as I was leaving the game, all of a sudden there were these quote-unquote new scrolls, that being overpowered versions of scrolls already in the game, the BFLE line. There's Hitman BFLE, Stalker BFLE, and so much more. I was at first hyped to only be completely let down, as I read that they could only be obtained through these RNG loot boxes. And as an aside, the scrolls are so lazy. All the nuance and individuality that the original scrolls had is gone. Hitman, for example, has 2 launchers, but neither of them are good, so you use this scroll's insane kick combos to pressure and tie down your opponent. Yeah, that's gone. The kick combo is now a juggle launcher leading to stupid damage. The combos themselves have more extensions than just launchers and are made faster. Hitman was never a slow scroll, so it's just added power. Stalker is one of my favorite scroll designs, as it was the first scroll ever added that only has a launcher when you counter an opponent. The rest of the scroll is quite middling besides an Omni Grab, making Stalker a more methodical scroll, as you can pressure with grabs and punches and then capitalize on an opponent's mistake with a counter launch. Yeah, that's gone. Not the counter, it's still there, but no, Stalker just has a launcher off its kick combo now. But none of these over-the-top, overpowered BFLE scrolls hold a candle to what I received when I was opening my loot boxes. EPSILON. Looking at it, the move list is tiny and the punches and kicks are pretty lackluster. The initial punch has some good forward range, but both of the combos lack the horizontal range and block stun to really be that effective. It has an Omni Grab that's great, but what, it doesn't have a ground hit? What happens if I press KG anyways? Oh no. It can't be. How did this get part? How did this get past any of the balancing team?
Alright, yo DJ, spin that shit! Every day when you're walking down the street, everybody that you meet has an original point of view. And I say, what a wonderful kind of day. You can learn to work and play and get along with each other.
더블킬! 트리플킬! 더블킬! 트리플킬! 그레이트킬!
Everybody, I come here for everybody. Kill everybody. I'm the champ. I'm the king. Kill everyone.
EPSILON isn't completely without faults. Like I alluded to, it's not very good in 1v1 situations, and it's especially weaker on stages without edges. But in most situations, this scroll is nearly unparalleled. This is a huge problem that plagues the game at large currently. There's a good amount of loot box scrolls that are so overtuned, they're like a video game version of fanfiction. Excessive amounts of launchers, downright unfair frame data and range, buttons that do several things at once. Rumble Fighter has been infected by a power creep that would make Tekken 8 blush. All to sell loot boxes. Also because the devs have ran out of ideas. In fact, the store hasn't seen a new original scroll in 6 years. Another huge pay-to-win aspect of this game are the stats that you can add to your character. For whatever reason, this fighting game has an RPG sort of stat system, with you being able to equip items and later enchant them for a boost in stats. This is a problem in 2 parts. For starters, fighting against anyone with maxed out strength and crit, for example, is a completely uphill battle. Just one combo from them can delete half your health bar. Raising other stats such as jump can literally save you from getting knocked off stages, pretty much allowing you to cheat. You do this by grab climbing or grabbing midair at a specific time during your jump. The scoreboard also only counts upon you actually hitting the death plane, so you can just stall the clock with this as well. Raising speed has less overpowered, more hilarious effects, as you can fling your character across the screen and no one can catch up to you. On some stages, you can go completely out of bounds and be somewhat invincible. It can also be useful for running away when you have the lead. Words really can't describe how nearly impossible it can be to fight somebody that has high stats, and there isn't any sort of balancing factor in the game that you can use. I repeat, you cannot turn off stats in any way in a player versus player fighting game. This is like Tekken Revolution on steroids. There's been times in lobbies where people literally ask and beg other players to take off their stat boosting items before the game starts. The other problem with stats is that it's a huge money sink. In Rumble Fighter, there are gems. Remember Gem Fighter? Anyways, you can either buy from the store or get as a reward from boss mode. Their base level gives you +1 or +2 to a given stat. You can enchant the gem up to +10 using varying levels of enchantment cards, and of course, the higher tier cards, Master Enchant cards are RC only, and Fortune cards come from loot boxes. The higher level your gem becomes, the lower chance of your next enchantment, and these percentages fall off a cliff. I mean, hey, if you have the money, you may as well buy loot boxes and Master Enchant cards and effectively throw money at enchanting until you get completely maxed out gems to slot into your equipment. As an aside, while there may be both Karat and RC, you can still effectively buy Karat, as loot boxes have a chance of getting you Karat tickets. Or you can just straight up sell RC items for Karat. So it's the kind of situation where spending real money can pretty much get you anything that you want. The treasure chests you get from boss mode are also loot boxes, and the drop rates are some of the worst I've seen in gaming. There's this scroll called Drunken Boxing. It's very old, not very good, playing abandoned fiddle to its related Drunken Master. However, one of the boss modes can drop a significantly upgraded version called Drunken Boxing SE. I played this stage for literal days and weeks, and amassed around 360 boxes total, and guess what I got? Absolutely nothing. That is like 2 weeks of playtime vanished into thin air. This is straight up unforgivable and downright evil that they put drop rates this petty into the game. And it's indicative of the drop rates for a lot of the RC boxes that you pay real money for. The community in Rumble Fighter is pretty much a ghost town, and there's maybe 20 to 30 players on daily, and most of the players that are on are, well, You will see slurs way too often, and it doesn't even matter if you're on the same team. The moment you lose a game, your own team members can start insulting you. You'll see players talking trash in the shout chat, players talking trash in the lobby, people just being rude for no reason. Now, I'm not the kind of person to be like, oh no, people are mean to me and my feelings are hurt. I'm all for freedom of speech, but it can honestly be a bit much in this game. Just having so many of your interactions and conversations in this game be negative just doesn't make it feel good to play. It doesn't feel good to interact with the community. Any new players that start this game will get this toxicity as their first impression, which is horrible for an already dying game such as this one. Let's talk more about this game's horrific design. The lack of support this game has received has been so lacking, you'd think the developers forgot the game existed. There are so many little and big things here and there that simply have been left broken or as is. To begin, ever since this game first came out, the items in the shop have been incredibly expensive, whether it's RC or Karat. I still remember that Humble Fighter was the first game I ever got scammed in. Some player told me that if I were to gift him this item that cost Karat, he'd gift me another item that cost RC. I believe it was some sort of shirt I bought, and back then, to me, under the age of 10, that was a lot of money. I remember that Karat taking so long for me to save up and I was hesitant to give it away, but I really needed that item. Well, I went ahead and gifted him that item, and he removed me from his friends list and I never saw him again. I don't think I felt a rage as intense as that since. Point is, Karat gain is very slow. So is experience. Both of these are affected by our KD ratio. So it's skill-based EXP and money gain. Yeah, let that marinate for a while. That would be doing a disservice, however, by not saying that experience does become pointless after level 25, and you can farm a lot of it from boss mode. But Karat is still skill-based. Now, Karat is much faster to accumulate nowadays, as the game has thankfully added mechanics such as daily quests, which give you a loot box that you can open, which has a possibility of giving you Karat, and free items that boost Karat gain, but it still takes a very long time. I get maybe a couple thousand Karat if I play for an entire day. Scrolls and Exos commonly cost over 40,000, so if I want that, I have to play for like over half a month. That's ridiculous. The devs even nerfed one way people used to make Karat, as people, myself included, used to farm certain boss mode stages over and over, and instead of opening the chest, you'd sell them for 1 to 200 Karat each, depending on the difficulty of the stage. But nope, can't have the players making any money, make things more difficult. Still related to what I just spoke about is how terrible the boss system is for the most part. This is something that I don't see many players talk about, but something I've left out is that most boss mode chests require keys to open. How do you get these keys? Oh, you just buy them from the shop for Karat. Yeah, you heard that right. Oh, you just cleared a boss mode stage? Congratulations, here's a locked chest. Good luck opening it. What? Yeah, you can't even get your reward without spending Karat on it. When I was younger, I thought boss mode was so cool, but I didn't even have the Karat to open the chest I received from them. And it's not like these keys are cheap. If I want to farm a hard difficulty boss 50 times, I would need 50 keys, which would cost, one sec, let me round it to 80,000. 80,000 Karat. Isn't this absurd? This game is so unfriendly, bro, I swear. It's also crazy that over the years we really haven't received anything to really vary up the base gameplay. The closest thing we've gotten to new stages or modes are just reskins of popular stages and just recycling old boss mode enemies into new stages. I really wish they'd add a bit more of both to the game, but actually have them be new assets. When it comes to maps, I mentioned earlier that the maps more or less define the mode of play, so players are definitely stuck in their ways, but the devs haven't even tried to change things up. Only thing we got were 3 maps added to a game mode that nobody plays. No new modes either. Well, there was an AI mode added where you play against player-created characters, but they took that away so fast I literally never even got the chance to play it. So I don't have any first-hand account of how it really was like to play. Would players play these new modes if they were added? Probably not right now, but if we actually had more players, it'd be a great addition. As of right now, you might be able to fool some people into playing Potion Battle, which unironically is a ton of fun, but you're gonna keep seeing the same Moon, Cove, 1v1 modes of play. Other modes like Caged Beast, yeah, remember that? I briefly listed it in the intro? Yeah, I lied. It's completely broken. When recording footage for this video, I discovered that Caged Beast mode is incredibly bugged and does not work as intended. At a certain point, the cages are supposed to be released for every player that hasn't gone yet. However, right now, they open, but you can't hit your opponents at all. Here's what Caged Beast mode is supposed to look like. The game even starts at a fixed angle so you can see all the action. Once the cages break, the camera focuses on your character, then you can just go fight. You think the black bars on screen are sorely for a theatrical look? No. They never updated this game to suit modern PCs. There are constant crashes, and also having the game on full screen forces your monitor to a lower resolution and makes it especially a nightmare to those with multiple displays, so you have to run it in window mode. No borderless window here. At least loading times are super fast now, as back then everyone was on Windows XP. You could spend upward of 5 to 10 minutes in the loading screen just chatting to people. By the way, guilds, they don't even work anymore. I'm unsure when specifically, but the whole system has been frozen for a while now. You can't create, you can't join, you can't even leave guilds anymore because of hackers apparently. So instead of fixing the problem, the devs just shut the entire thing down, cutting off one of the best social mechanics that this game had. But after all this, the absolute worst part about Rumble Fighter is that it's still fun. Despite everything I've detailed in this video so far, despite all of the severe problems I have with this game, there is one everlasting constant, that this game is still great. The concept of creating your own unique avatar and fighting against other players' unique avatars quite literally never gets old, and I bet the current player base feels the exact same way. While I myself may be a nomad going from game to game, the players that have stuck around Rumble Fighter have done so for a reason. Go ask anyone who still plays fighting games like Third Strike or Melee why they continue to play the game, and I'm sure you'll get similar answers. The gameplay and fighting systems are just enchanting, for lack of a better word. This game could be an esport. In fact, I even found old footage of a tournament as I was researching for this video. But any sort of media presence that this game once had has died. It is such a shame seeing the state of this game, as something like this has limitless potential. It came out during the dark ages of the FGC, but if it was released now, I truly think it'd be a huge hit. I'm downright surprised that no big game studio has tried a similar concept since Rumble Fighter came out. The community, while accessible, can still be fun to engage with, and I would be outright lying if I said I never took part in some of the insanity. One time, 2 brand new players joined the lobby, and we couldn't believe it, because how would you even find this game? Instead of ganging up on them, we just let them duke it out. It was a really nostalgic moment seeing a bit of myself in these new players. If any old Rumble Fighter players happen to watch this, my old accounts were named Darkshade 1, Kurai Rose, and Tekken is Better. It was a pleasure playing with you. I unfortunately forget the name of my original 2007 account though. I have so many memories back when I was growing up watching this game grow as well. When the first boss mode Al-Hata got added, everybody was in a state of hype, and before guilds were a thing, there was a group of players whose names began with AZN. I'm assuming standing for Asian maybe. While most kids in the 2000s were playing World of Warcraft or RuneScape, I was playing Rumble Fighter. It's painful seeing the game waste away as loot boxes continue to infect the shop. I just wish something could be done about it. The only way I could see change would be if thousands of players suddenly started playing and or Rumble Fighter changed developers. I'm surprised the game hasn't closed down yet. I typically check every couple of years to see if it's still up. If you're feeling insane enough to try this game, I'll leave a link in the description along with a few extras. Kenny RF, who streams this madness nearly every day, the Rumble Fighter Discord server, as well as various other YouTube channels that made content for this game. I love Rumble Fighter. It's just a tragedy that the developers don't feel the same way. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, and comment below.